Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're grabbing our clubs, maybe some dragon-proof gear, and getting ready for what sounds like a mythic duel. We're digging into the blueprint for the Legion TCG.
Yeah, this isn't just, another card game. The sources we have show this incredibly detailed hybrid system.
Okay.
They're really trying to smash together high fantasy combat with, the real nitty-gritty discipline of golf.
It's pretty wild. I mean, taking stuff like grip, stance, tempo, actual golf things, and turning them into powers, villains, game mechanics, that's quite a leap.
It really is. And you can see the philosophy behind it is all about making, the chaos of a bad golf shot, a shank or a slice, central to the actual strategy. It's quite an intellectual puzzle they've set up.
And the goal here, reading through this, it's ambitious, right? They want the hardcore TCG players, the collectors, the sharks, as they call them. But also they needed to click with, golf kids and families, and even scale up for schools, youth programs like First Tee. That's a huge balancing act for the core game mechanics.
It puts immense pressure on the design. Absolute clarity is key, and it has to feel right thematically. If it doesn't feel like golf somehow, you lose that whole audience.
The strategy is too simple.
Then the TCG crowd just, dismisses it, walks away. It's a tightrope.
Okay, so our mission today for this deep dive is to really unpack that foundation. The core rules, the design choices, why they made them, the risks, the strategies, how Legion actually tries to build that bridge between, a fantasy battlefield and a real golf course. This is basically the blueprint for how they plan to make it last, build a community, and keep collectors interested.
Exactly. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start with the core flavor. The tagline kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Swing with dragons, command with a knight, read the wind, mine the hazards, and win the hole.
Yeah, that immediately tells you the dynamic. You're the knight, the thinker, the strategist. But the dragons, they're your power hitters, but they're also where things can go wrong. They carry the risk.
And that whole idea flows right into the basic stat, the language of the game. You really have to get these 4 core stats right.
You absolutely do. They govern pretty much everything. First up, maybe the most straightforward, GP, game points.
Right, like your health bar, basically, or your score.
Pretty much. It's tied to your knight, their stamina, their focus. If your knight's GP hits 0, game over. You're cut, as they call it. That's the bottom line.
Okay, simple enough. Then the dragon stats.
Yeah, 2 main ones for the dragon's physical presence. HD, hit damage, that's just raw power. How hard the dragon hits. Think like club head speed, pure force.
Gotcha. Power. And the opposite.
That's DG, Dragon Guard. This is the interesting one. It's toughness, defense, but the sources really emphasize it represents control and consistency, like good form in a swing. High DG means the dragon is stable, less likely to be disrupted.
Okay, power and control. HD and DG. What's the last one you said was unique?
YDS yards. And this is where the golf theme really locks in. It's the dragon's distance identity. But it's not just a number for, calculating damage or range.
How so?
It's more like a classification. The YDS value dictates where on the battlefield, which zone that dragon can actually be placed. It forces you to think like you're choosing a club for a specific shot distance. That's the core link back to golf strategy.
Ah, okay. So the YDS value limits where they can go. That immediately makes placement crucial. Which brings us to the battlefield itself. It's structured like a course, right? 4 main zones.
Exactly. It's a tiered structure. The foundation, your home base, is the teeing ground.
That's where the knight hangs out.
Yep, the knight's home zone, their anchor position. They live there, issue commands from there. And critically, your GP, your game points, are tied to the knight on the teeing ground. The knight card itself is permanent. It can't be destroyed or removed.
But if the GP tied to it hits 0, you lose. So safe, but also the ultimate target.
Precisely. Safe zone, but holds your life total. Then, moving out from there, you've got the front line, the land zone.
The dragon battleground.
That's it. This is where you summon your dragons, where they attack the opponent, defend your knight. And the key thing here, the absolute core of the tactical game, is what the sources call slot diversity.
Slot diversity, meaning?
It means the land zone isn't just one big area. It's divided into 8 specific slots, each corresponding to a type of golf club and a very precise yardage band.
Oh, wow. Like specific clubs?
Yeah, they list them. Putter, P, sand wedge, SW, pitching wedge, PW, 9-iron, 7-iron, 5-iron, 4 hybrid, and driver 1 wood, D1W. Each slot only accepts dragons whose YDS stat falls within that slot's range.
So you can't just jam your strongest dragon anywhere. If it's a driver dragon, it has to go in the driver slot.
Exactly. A 300 YDS driver dragon physically cannot occupy the 90 YDS sand wedge slot. This forces you to build your bag with variety. You need short game, mid game, long game dragons. It mirrors selecting clubs.
That's clever. Okay, teeing ground, land zone. What's next?
Behind the scenes, supporting the action is the Relics zone. Think of this as your strategic arsenal, your equipment and know-how.
So this is where, like, buffs and sport cards go.
Right, you have ongoing supports, gear relics, which are like clubs, swing relics, representing form, course relics for environmental effects, and caddy relics for guidance. Plus, you have one-shot tactical cards called technique relics.
The toolkit, but they don't attack directly.
Correct. Big restriction. Relics never strike. They only modify stats, change conditions, provide support, maybe mess with the opponent's plans. They sit off to the side.
Okay. And the last zone. The one everyone dreads.
The hazard zone, the punishment zone. This is where bad rolls, the mishits, send your dragons, or sometimes even your relics. It's the consequence engine.
And it gets progressively worse, right? This seems critical for balance.
Oh, absolutely critical. There are 4 subzones, scaling up in severity. You've got the bunker, severity 4, then the rough, severity 5, then water, severity 6. Each makes it harder and more costly to get your card back into play.
And the ultimate penalty.
OB, out of bounds. The sources are crystal clear on this. OB is the graveyard. If a card gets sealed OB, it is permanently gone for the rest of the match. Irretrievable.
Wow. No exceptions.
No exceptions mentioned. That threat of permanent loss is what keeps even the most powerful dragons in check. It's the great equalizer. You mess up badly enough, you can lose your best asset forever.
Okay, we know the layout of the course now. Let's talk about the main players. Knights and dragons. The knights are the leaders, right? Sitting back on the teeing ground. But you mentioned they're not really the attackers.
Yeah, that's a key distinction. They are leaders, not carriers, not the main damage dealer. Their primary job is command. Each turn, the knight commands one ready dragon in the lance zone.
Just one, even if you have a bunch out there.
Just one. That single command telling a dragon to strike, or maybe defend, or use a special activate ability that dictates your main action for the turn. It forces you to prioritize which dragon is most important right now.
But if the knight themselves rarely attacks, I mean, the sources say they only strike as a last resort fallback. If your land zone is totally empty, doesn't that make your main character feel a bit passive?
It seems like a very deliberate design choice, actually. It shifts the focus away from the knight being a beatstick towards them being the strategic anchor, the resource manager. Their GP is always high, right? 9,000. That represents stamina, focus, resilience.
Okay, so they're tough, but their attacks are weak.
Relatively weak in terms of raw damage, yeah. The knight's strike rolls aren't really designed to chunk down the opponent's GP directly. Instead, their attack outcomes are focused more on messing with the opponent's strategy.
How so?
Things like pushing hazard risk onto the opponent's dragons, or shifting the GP tempo, maybe healing a bit, or causing a small, steady drain. They're meant to disrupt the flow, apply pressure indirectly, especially if their own attack misses. They're the tactical safety net, not the primary weapon.
Got it. So the real offensive stars are the dragons.
Yeah.
They're the hitters, the ones actually winning the holes by dealing damage.
Exactly. They're the ones making the strike rolls that result in those golf shot outcomes we talked about. Straight, draw, fade, hook, slice, shank. And crucially, their mishits are what land them in the hazards. They carry the offensive power and the risk.
And this loops back to that YDS mechanic, the yardage to land zone alignment. You said this is the pillar holding it all together.
It really is. It forces that authentic golf club management feel. You aren't just playing strong cards, you're managing an 8-club bag, and your dragons are those clubs, basically.
Let's really break down those YDS bands you mentioned. The detail seems important for understanding the strategy.
It's super granular. Think short game. The putter slot, P, is strictly 050 YDS. The sand wedge, SW, is 6100 YDS. You literally cannot summon a dragon with, say, 150 YDS into those slots.
Okay, in mid-range.
It gets tight. The 9-iron is what, 140, 160 YDS? The 7-iron slot is just 180, 200 YDS. The 5-iron, 210, 230 YDS. See how narrow those windows are? Every 10 yards matters for placement. You need the right club for this.
And the big hitters, the powerful dragons everyone wants.
They're restricted too. The 4 hybrid 4H slot covers 240, 270 YDS. And the driver, the on-W slot, is only for the longest hitters, 280 plus YDS dragons.
So you can't just load your Lance Zone with 6 driver dragons because they have high HD.
Nope. The system itself prevents it. You must have diversity. You need dragons that cover different yardage bands to fill out your Lance Zone effectively. It forces balanced deck building, just like a real golf bag needs more than just drivers.
Okay, here's the really interesting strategic point from the sources. What happens if a dragon's YDS changes during the match? Like a relic boosts it, or an opponent's attack penalizes it, and suddenly its YDS is outside the legal band for the slot it's currently in.
Yeah, that's a fantastic rule. It creates such interesting dilemmas. The rule is the dragon stays put in that slot, but it cannot strike. It's essentially paralyzed offensively until its YDS comes back into a legal range for that slot.
Whoa, so it's stuck and useless for attacking.
Exactly. It mimics that golf situation perfectly. You hit an amazing drive, but now you're way too close to the green to use your driver again. That powerful dragon is now occupying a crucial slot, but can't contribute offensively.
So you have to deal with it. You either need to use a relic effect to change its YDS back, or maybe move it, or just accept that slot is clogged for now and use a different dragon in a different legal slot.
Precisely. It forces a tactical choice. Do I spend resources fixing this misplaced dragon's position, or do I pivot my strategy and use a different dragon? That decision, turn after turn, is where the depth comes from, even with a relatively simple turn structure.
Yeah, the turn rhythm seems straightforward but deep. You outline the phases.
Super clean. Start phase, ready your cards, draw one, then the big decision. The command step, where the knight picks that one dragon to act. Then strike and resolve. Roll the die, apply modifiers, see if you hit or miss, and importantly, check for hazard tags on a miss or a bad roll. After that, relics and reactions, play ongoing stuff or trigger instant effects. Finally, the end phase dot cleanup. It's a neat loop, like taking one swing.
All right, let's talk about the dice. This is where the fantasy meets the physics of a golf swing, right? A single D6 roll apparently drives all the tension.
Yeah, it's pretty elegant how much narrative they squeeze out of one little die roll. They've mapped the outcomes from 1 to 6 to represent everything from a perfect shot to an absolute disaster, and every roll tells a story.
Okay, focus on the main one first. The shot shape roll for dragons. This determines how well they hit. What's a 1?
A 1 is straight. Perfect shot. Clean contact, baseline stats applied, no negative side effects, totally safe, the ideal result.
Nice. What about 2 and 3?
Those are your controlled, skillful shots. A 2 is a draw controlled power. You get a bonus, plus 100 HD and plus 50 YDS. More distance, more punch.
And a 3.
A 3 is a fade controlled, well control. You get plus 100 DG for stability and plus 50 YDS for distance. Both 2 and 3 are good outcomes, showing mastery. You want to roll low.
Okay, low is good, but you can't always roll low. What happens when things start to go wrong? Let's talk about 4. The hook.
Right, now we get into risk reward. A 4, the hook, is like you overpowered it, tried too hard, you get a big distance bonus, plus 150 YDS, which can be huge.
Okay, there's a catch.
Always. You also take a penalty, Nagus 100 DG, making the dragon more vulnerable defensively, and critically, rolling a 4 carries a mandatory bunker hazard risk. If the strike fails for any reason, or maybe just on the roll itself, depending on the card, you might end up in the sand trap. Big distance, but big risk.
Okay, bunker risk on a 4. What about a 5? The slice. That just sounds bad.
It is. It represents weak, glancing contact. A slice gives you penalties across the board. Nagish 100 YDS and Nagish 100 HD. Your shot is short and weak.
Ouch. Hazard risk too.
Yep. A slice carries a mandatory rough hazard risk. You're off the fairway, in the tall grass, it slows you right down, costs resources to recover, really stalls your momentum.
And then, the dreaded 6. The shank. Complete disaster.
Utter catastrophe. A shank immediately hits the dragon with a massive Nagish 150 YDS penalty, way short, and it forces a severe hazard check. This could send the dragon straight into the water hazard.
Or worse.
Or, according to the sources, for certain cards or maybe specific high-risk situations, a shank can trigger the OB seal, that permanent removal we talked about.
Wow. So a 6 is potentially game-losing for that dragon.
Potentially, yeah. The game absolutely punishes a total breakdown in form. You roll that 6, you're facing serious consequences.
You can really see how this creates memorable moments, right? Like, you're setting up for a game-winning shot with your big driver dragon, you roll, and it's a 4. A hook.
Exactly. You get the distance maybe, but bam, now you're in the bunker and your dragon just lost 100 DG. It's suddenly vulnerable. The opponent sees that.
And they pounce. They know its defense is down. That one roll completely changes the tactical situation.
That's the balance. That single D6 injects just enough randomness and consequence to keep things tense. Now compare that to the Knight strike roll. You said it's different.
Right, the Knight only rolls to strike when the land zone is empty, as a fallback. Their roll isn't about hitting hard.
Precisely. Their outcomes focus on tactical shifts. If a Knight attacks and rolls poorly, say a 4 strained impact or a 6 catastrophic impact, and the strike misses the opposing Knight,
What happens then?
it triggers something called hazard mapping. Instead of the Knight taking damage, the opponent might have one of their dragons, or maybe even a relic, sent directly to the rough or water hazard.
Ah, so the Knight's failure can actually disrupt the opponent's board state.
Exactly. The Knight becomes a tool for controlling the battlefield, forcing the opponent to waste time and resources on retrieval, rather than being a primary damage source. Very tactical.
And speaking of retrieval, managing these hazards seems core to survival. The game has a strict system for this.
Super strict and universal. This is key for competitive balance. Any card, dragon, or relic that ends up in the bunker, rough, or water can only be retrieved by paying costs defined in the universal hazard retrieval cost.
So individual cards can't have weird custom rules to get out of hazards easily.
Nope. The source material is emphatic. Cards can reference the table, maybe make the roll easier or harder, but they can't invent their own extraction methods. Keeps it clean, prevents rules loopholes, makes it easier for new players.
And just to hammer it home, OB is absolute.
Non-negotiable. Sealed out of bounds means gone forever. That's the ultimate price for catastrophic failure. Respect the course or lose your pieces.
Okay, so if dragons are the hitters and knights are the commanders, the relics sound like the engine room, the strategic toolkit that makes everything else work.
That's a great way to put it. They're your customization layer. They provide the buffs, the tactical tricks, the environmental shifts, and crucially, they are the only way you can get your dragons back from those hazards. They're your bag of clubs, your mental game plan, your caddy's advice, all rolled into cards.
And there are 5 distinct types, or subclasses, each with a really specific role, based on golf logic.
Incredibly specific. The design seems very rigid here, which is good for balance. Each subclass has mandatory anchor stats it focuses on, preventing them from doing everything.
Let's break that down. First up, gear relics. These are clubs, right?
Yep, think irons, wedges, drivers, physical tools. So logically, they anchor on YDS, HD, and DG. The stats directly affected by the club itself: distance, power control on impact.
And what don't they affect?
Critically, gear relics never interact with GP, game points. The logic is your golf club doesn't influence your mental stamina or score directly. It's just the tool.
Makes sense. Okay, next, swing relics. This is about form.
Exactly. Consistency, rhythm, good mechanics, good form means stability, right? So swing relics anchor primarily on DG, Dragon Guard. That's their main focus.
Do they touch on their stats?
They might modulate YDS a bit, representing controlled shot shaping, and maybe lightly affect GP, reflecting the mental discipline needed for good form, but DG is their core. They're your defensive consistency.
Okay, then course relics. These sound like they affect the whole playing field.
Yeah, think weather, terrain, general conditions. These affect the macro game, the overall flow, morale. So they anchor primarily on GP, game points.
Dealing with score changes, tempo.
Right. Boosting morale, maybe direct GP adjustments. They can also modify YDS or DG secondarily, representing things like wind affecting distance or soft ground impacting stability. They change the rules of the fairway.
Got it. Then the flashy ones. Technique relics. Instant effects.
Yeah, these are your clutch moments, your high-risk plays, your special moves. They're surgical. They anchor strongly on HD and YDS, powerful offensive bursts, sudden repositioning.
High risk, high reward usually means a cost, though.
Often, yes. Technique relics frequently use GP as a cost. You sacrifice some stamina or focus to pull off that amazing shot. It's like taking a penalty stroke for attempting something risky. Pure tactical variance.
And the last one, caddy relics.
Yeah.
Guidance, support.
Exactly, the steady hand support system. Caddies are focused on stabilizing your game, managing variance, reducing chaos, so they anchor on DG for stability and GP for morale and resilience.
So less about offense, more about safety nets.
Pretty much. They help mitigate the risks posed by the course or the opponent. They offer defensive boosts, maybe help smooth out bad die rolls. Reliable support.
Okay, this strict definition for each relic type is interesting. But you said their most critical role, strategically, might be hazard retrieval. getting your dragons back.
This is where the design really layers on the strategy, because how each relic type gets a dragon out of a hazard is tied directly back to its core identity and stats. It's not one size fits all.
All right, explain that. How does gear get you out of trouble?
Gear retrieval is like using a specific tool, a precision instrument like a wedge. So the retrieval attempt involves YDS HD trade-offs. Maybe you sacrifice some power to gain accuracy needed to get out of the bunker. And typically, gear can only retrieve up to Part 3 or maybe Part 4 dragons, smaller units. The tool has its limits.
Okay. What about swing retrieval, form and rhythm?
Right. Recovery through disciplined movement. Swing retrieval focuses on DGYDS. You're using good form to execute a controlled chip out, minimizing further risk. It's about stability, not brute force, usually also capped at mid-range dragons.
Force retrieval, leveraging the environment.
Yeah, this is interesting. It focuses on GPYDS DG. It might represent finding a favorable lie in the rough, boosting DG. Or maybe a morale boost, GP, helps the dragon recover better. It's about mitigating the hazard through circumstance.
Now the big one. Your most powerful dragon is in the water hazard. Who are you going to call?
Only one option for the biggest threats, the Par 5 bosses dragons. Technique Relics.
The miracle shot.
Exactly. Technique retrieval focuses on raw HDYDS bursts. It's the only way to even attempt to save those huge game-winning dragons from the water or deep rough.
But it has to be risky, right, for balance?
Extremely risky. The source estate technique retrievals are the only ones that have specific built-in OB fail states, especially on a shank roll. A 6, you go for the miracle recovery.
And if you fail spectacularly, you lose the dragon permanently to out of bounds.
Precisely. It creates this terrifying decision point. Do I risk absolute loss to save my best dragon, or cut my losses? High drama.
Wow. Yeah, contrast that with the safest option, caddy retrieval.
Caddy support offers the low variance out. It focuses on stabilizing DGGP to mitigate the risk during the retrieval attempt. It's reliable, predictable, great for learning the game or ensuring you get your mid-range pieces back safely.
But it has limits, too.
Yeah, caddies are also generally capped at retrieving Par 4 dragons or lower. They provide safety and support, but they can't perform that legendary high-risk feat needed to rescue a Par 5 monster. That's reserved for technique. So again, a strategic choice. Guaranteed safety for smaller units, or all or nothing risk for the big one.
Okay, we've got the mechanics, the zones, the dice. Let's shift to the flavor, the identity that builds the community and shapes the game's future. The Knight Legions seem key here, providing immediate playstyles. 4 of them.
Yeah, 4 core knight classes, each with a distinct strategy and color identity. This is smart design for attracting different types of TCG players right away.
Okay, who are they?
First, the Warrior Legion. Red and orange colors. Their sigil is a cross driver and sword. As you expect, they're aggressive. High HD focus, direct combat, grinding down the opponent's GP. Straightforward beat-down strategy.
That's the aggro players. Got it. Who's next?
The Rogue Legion. Green and black. Sigil. Twin daggers made of teas. These are the tricky ones. They love messing with hazards, using pierce mechanics to bypass defense, manipulating YDS to force dragons into illegal slots. Cunning, disruptive play.
Control and disruption. Okay.
Third, the Monk Legion. Gold and brown colors. Sigil is a lotus marker, like a stylized golf ball marker. Monks are all about defense and patience. Maximize DG, use resolve mechanics, likely damage prevention or resilience, and just outlast the opponent. The ultimate attrition and control style.
For the turtling players, the
Yeah.
defensive masters, and the last one.
The Wizard Legion. Blue and violet. Their sigil is cool. A rune staff crossed with a golf flag. Wizards are the combo and control masters. They run relic-heavy decks, manipulating the course, setting up complex synergies, maybe locking down the opponent's options. For players who love intricate strategies.
That's a really solid spread of classic TCG archetypes just mapped onto this golf fantasy world. It gives everyone an immediate entry point, right?
Absolutely. Whether you like smashing face, setting up tricky traps, building an unbreakable wall, or weaving complex combos, there's a Knight Legion for you. It lowers the barrier to entry while promising strategic depth.
And this structure seems mirrored in the Dragon factions too, 5 of them, tied to elements and golf concepts.
Yeah, this layering is clever. Each Dragon faction has an elemental theme, but it's also linked to a specific type of golf club. And one of the 5 fundamental swing zones mentioned in the lore stance: grip, takeaway, impact, follow through.
Okay, break those down. Who are the Dragon factions?
First, Flame Wings. Fire element, obviously. Tied to drivers in the stance, these are your explosive, high HD, long-range attackers. Cure Offense, representing that powerful initial setup.
Makes sense.
Next,
Stonebacks, Earth element, tied to irons in the grip. These guys are defensive. High DG, resilient, hard to move, representing a firm, stable grounding. They pair naturally with Monk Knights.
Okay, defense then.
Storm Scales, lightning element, tied to hybrids and the takeaway. These are about speed, maybe chain attacks or quick effects. Unpredictable, fast, like that sudden motion starting the swing.
Speed and combos. Fourth.
Tide Wings, water element, tied to putters and impact. These are about control, precision, manipulating hazards, maybe pulling opponents in, and finishing maneuvers, like the crucial moment of contact on the green.
Control and precision. And the last one sounds special. Athermeans.
Ah, yes, cosmic element, tied to legendary clubs, whatever those are, and the follow-through. These are positioned as the rare, powerful, highly sought-after chase cards.
The Charizards of T Legion, as the source notes say. Exactly. Infused with some kind of pure weave force. They're likely very synergy-dependent, high-risk, high-reward, probably acting as game-ending threats or unique engine pieces, designed specifically to drive collector excitement and booster pack sales.
That makes total sense for a TCG. And this whole faction structure, Knights and Dragons, seems perfectly set up for future expansions, keeping the community engaged.
Oh, completely. The sources even give examples of potential set names based on these themes. Like a Forged in Flame set would clearly focus on warriors and flamewings, adding more high HD options.
And a Stone and Scale set.
Could bring in more stonebacks for defense, maybe more storm scales for speed, creating new strategic pairings, like a Monk Storm Scale deck, maybe? Defense plus sudden bursts.
That's an Ether set.
That sounds like where they'd introduce more of those Ethermane chase cards, keeping the high rarity hunt alive. It provides a predictable yet exciting structure for rolling out new content, which is vital for any TCG's longevity.
Plus, the link back to actual golf fundamentals, form, consistency, hazard management, gives it that bridge to youth programs you mentioned earlier.
Right. Teaching kids that high DG, good form, helps you survive the rough, bad situations, is kind of teaching a life lesson through a game mechanic. It acts like a fun, strategic simulator for the mental side of golf. #tagouttarot.
So, pulling it all together, the level of detail and how they've merged these two worlds, golf and fantasy TCGs, is pretty impressive. Taking something as specific as the yardage range of a 7-iron and making it a core tactical rule, that's deep.
It really is. And the result seems to be a system that, yeah, it has complexity for veterans who want to optimize deck slots and YDS manipulation, but it's also clear enough for a kid to grasp immediately, uh-oh, I rolled a 6, the shank, that's bad.
And that commitment to balance seems crucial for its future. Things like OB being absolute, the universal hazard rules, the rarity of cards that just override core mechanics.
Yeah.
That prevents power creep.
Right. Hopefully, yeah. It ensures that no matter how powerful your Dragon's HD is, it always has to respect that D6 roll, always risks landing in a hazard. It suggests that smart play, discipline, managing the course represented by DG and Relic use, should always compete with just playing the biggest, strongest dragon. Strategy over raw stats, I mean.
You know, the way they've integrated the physics, the swing dynamics, the risk, really is the core idea. The battlefield, the course, is always changing based on relics, and that threat of a shank is always there. It makes you wonder, how much does pure power, like a warrior knight with flame wings, really matter compared to disciplined consistency? Like the monk knight with those sturdy stoneback dragons, just aiming for safe 2s and 3s, avoiding hazards at all costs.
And that leaves you, the player, with a really interesting question to think about, doesn't it? If the game forces you to spend actions and cards just recovering from mistakes, just getting out of the rough or bunker, where does true victory lie? Is it in maximizing explosive offense, hoping to overpower the risks like the warrior? Or is it in maximizing consistency and control, minimizing mistakes, like the monk? It's that classic battle, form versus firepower, played out with dragons on a mystical golf course. Mastering that balance seems like the real key to winning in T Legion.
A fascinating design. That's our deep dive into the structure, strategy, and potential future of T Legion. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.